Behind every pioneering idea, method, and device is a fellow human or humans, a trailblazer who is daring enough to ask the questions that push the boundaries and make the impossible possible. I'm Sharon Kedar, co-founder of North Pond Ventures, a multi-billion-dollar science-driven venture capital firm, and the host of Innovate and Elevate. In each episode, we'll have candid, in-depth conversations with top doctors, scientists, and innovators about leading-edge discoveries and how they impact our lives. It's time for all of us to innovate and elevate. I am welcoming the amazing Shelley Zalis. Shelley Zalis is the CEO of the Female Quotient, a women-owned business working with companies and conscious leaders to curate experiences, thought leadership, and solutions designed to achieve gender equality in the workplace and beyond. Shelley is a pioneer for online research, becoming the first female chief executive ranked in the research industry's top 25. She also works with Fortune 500 companies, impact organizations, and conscious leaders to advance equality in the workplace. Shelley authors a Forbes column that provides virtual mentorship for women in middle management. Shelley, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
Is your title Chief Troublemaker?
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about, and I know most people know you, but the evolution, how did you get here? How dare you? Why are we here and where are we going?
So when I gave myself the name Chief Troublemaker, it gave me permission to break all the rules that made no sense and create my own. So I think that everybody in a company is important and valuable and has a role to play, and everyone is equal. And it gives you that agency over yourself, not this hierarchical command and control structure. So that's why I think everyone is a chief blank officer, and put your middle name in the middle and give yourself that accountability. So that's why I assigned myself my own title.
As Chief Troublemaker, which is super awesome. I've never interviewed a Chief Troublemaker. I've never met a Chief Troublemaker who's been so open about it. If there were 3 rules that you wanted to break as Chief Troublemaker, what would they be?
I've broken so many. I think I left the corporate world because the rules didn't work for me. I was tired of being the exception to the rules. I wanted to create the new norm. So, Oscar Wilde says, be yourself because everyone else is taken. And when you look at complying or conforming to corporate rules, it's the 9 to 5, or in my day and age, it was coming in at 8 in the morning and staying until 9 o'clock at night, being the goody two-shoes. But what corporate handbook actually says you can't have a life outside of work? You can't pick up your kids, but you would look over your shoulder. No one else was leaving early, so you're not supposed to leave early. So what rule did I break? I actually started the new trend, and I left to pick up my children with no apology. Sorry, not sorry. That's what I needed to do. When I was 25 years old, I thought I was the perfect employee, and I was walking into my review thinking I'm going to get a raise and being applauded for being perfect. And the first 3 lines were the niceties, that I'm smart and I'm a good team player, but the rest ripped me to shreds. That I took too many clients to lunch, which I thought was a good thing, and that I pushed the team out of their comfort zone because I would say yes to clients and not just, be an order taker. And apparently that was a bad thing. I was supposed to just follow the rules. And at the end of my review, tears came down my eyes because I was not used to not being the A student, and my boss said to me, okay, sign the review form that you agree with your review. And my head said, sign, because I need this job. My husband was a resident, and we were making no money at all. And my heart said, no, I'm not going to sign. He's wrong. And I said, so I'm not going to sign this review. I don't want to be an order taker. I actually want to grow this company and expand. And so as a result, I got demoted, and this woman got put ahead of me. And he said to me, we're a research company, and she's a researcher.
You gave me chills. You gave me chills because I feel like so many women have that story, that you got demoted for speaking out.
But I really didn't get it. I did not understand. And it's actually quite funny because we stayed friends. And years later, I was interviewed in this article, and And I told them the story about this review, and they said, well, do you feel bad that you did that? And I said, no. I said, well, let's call Bill. And I want to ask Bill if he feels bad about giving me that terrible review. So we called Bill and we interviewed him. And I said, Bill, do you feel bad about that terrible review you gave me? And he said, no. And I said, why? He said, well, look at where you are today.
Wow. That's the enlightened view.
And, and it's so funny because I always say there's two types of people. Those that see what they see, which is status quo, what's in a textbook, what has been there before them. You know what you know, rule followers. And then there are those that can see the possibilities. And to see the possibilities, you need to sometimes color out of the lines. It's the coloring book. You color in the lines. It shows you where to color. But then there are those people that are abstract artists that just want to see the possibilities. But that's kind of scary.
You have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. But when we think about where we are, I came off of, my most recent episode interviewed a now 17-year-old girl and, my daughter who's almost 10. And it's like, they're still dealing with, some of the factors that will sort of ripple through to the workplace. So as chief troublemaker, what 3 rules do we need to break now, over the next 10 years or even year?
Number 1, don't follow your head, follow your heart. Number 2, there's always a solution. You just have to find it. So I never take no for an answer. There's always a yes. Number 3, and this is from Sarah Jessica Parker, but she says, trying to be a man is a waste of a woman. So, bring your feminine, don't hide it. And the other thing, what rule do I own is there's no such thing as imposter syndrome. And I'm going to say this because my girlfriend Wendy Clark told me this, but she says you just got to shut that bitch up in your head and own it. And so the other day I wrote an article which was, let's get rid of the word empower. We don't say empower men. Why do we say empowered women?
I loved it.
Right? We are in power. And it was like Dorothy wearing her ruby slippers. She always could have gone home. And it's time to understand the power we all hold within ourselves. We all have the power over ourselves to make those decisions. Why are we waiting and watching for someone to say, go sit at the table, take that seat at the table?
So speaking of real, Shelley, so I love this, shut that bitch up in your head, meaning are you basically saying that just because of where we are as a society, that there's this voice that most of us have when we've gotten to a certain point that doesn't go away, and you just have to sort of take the leap and, bring her with you, but have her be quiet?
No, listen, we all, first of all, men and women have that voice in their head. Men just in general tend to ignore it, and women let that voice get louder. And that's just the insecurity that we have, or that we've been conditioned to have. And we could go into this story because there's so many reasons we're conditioned to have that insecure feeling. And so you just got to shut that up, because if you would actually let your confidence voice be louder than your insecure voice, you would realize how amazing you are.
Yeah.
Which is why I like you're in power. Instead of feeling like, oh, I have to wait for permission, I need a male ally. No, you need a leadership ally. Let's stop putting that gender role, like you said a minute ago, in place. Instead, look to yourself and say, I got this. Look in the mirror, say, you go, girl. Look at how amazing you are and all the things that you are doing. But we always think we need to co-author or give someone else the credit. We never brag about ourselves. You're badass.
Shelley, I never see the no. How are we going to fix this? What do we do? And why are we accepting this? Why is this okay? And how do we get rowdy enough to change it?
Yeah, but that's why the female quotient, our tagline, which to me is our headline, is change the equation, close the gap. And that's how you do it. My whole career, I've either been told, oh, you're not qualified, or it's not possible, or no one's done it before, or it's not the right time, or, it's too ahead of itself. And you kind of wonder, well, how would you know? You've never done it.
That's innovation, but that's innovation generally. Like for any kind of innovation, say initially like you're crazy, and then once you're adopted, you have many, many people who take credit for that.
Exactly. And, it's the same thing when you look at VC funding and you keep seeing the headlines that women only get less than 2% of VC funding and women of color get less than 1%. 2%, 1%, 2%, 1%, 2%. You see that headline over and over and over and over and over and over again. My point is that no one, up until we started writing about it, questioned that number.
They still don't question it enough. They still don't question it enough.
Of course not, because the data isn't there. So I call PitchBook and I say, how did you come to these numbers? Where are they coming from? Because actually, when you look at female founders, they outperform male founders. You don't see those stories. I don't think it's conscious. We just keep repeating those numbers because that's the numbers that are out there. So when I went to look at the data, what I found was women are more successful female founders than men, but the check writers, 95% plus of check writers are men. And so it's a natural default of where the check writing is going. And so when I said, show me the data by diverse check writers and what percentage then is going to women and women of color, that number is incredibly higher. But they don't break the data by demographics. There is no data. PitchBook doesn't look at it that way. That's why they don't have that data. And so actually, I then wrote a paper, because I write for Time and I write for a lot of articles. And it just said, I said, we're asking the wrong question. The question to me is, if we know that female founders outperform male founders, why are we giving the power of the pen, the check, to the men that are investing in the wrong companies? And you wouldn't then see the 2 and the 1%, you'd see 30% to women and women of color. And so it all is how you tell a story, because you can pull any data you want.
Right.
And so these are the kinds of things, when you talk about consciousness and you talk about mice don't menstruate, we need to start reinforcing these stories over and over and over again. They just weren't told. And that is why storytelling is so important. And that's why AI is so important, because right now, junk in, junk out, or the intensity of the data, where we put the data, where the data is coming from is so important, which is why we coined the phrase algorithm for equality. Yeah. Because the algorithm in AI also matters. And so the more we have scientists that are, by the way, I don't want to say just women, but that have unbiased mindset, the more robust our data sets will be, and the more conscious we'll be, and the more we'll start seeing the articles around mice don't menstruate and start designing the right research and protocols and outputs around that.
My belief is that we have a huge, and I know you do mentorship, but we have a huge gap in sort of the knowledge of mentorship and what does it take to start a company. So if I went back to my 20-year-old self and I was starting a company and you offered me, and this might sound crazy, but if you offered me $100,000 or a year of Shelley Zalis, a year of Sharon, Kedar, I would take the mentorship from what I know now. I just think we have a huge gap in general for that mentorship, and specifically when it comes to women. But I don't really see a lot of that mentorship happening, but it seems when we talk about the art of possibility, like the most important part to fill this gap of women-led companies.
I've built 3 big movements. I'm a movement maker, and the way you build a movement is by always bringing everyone with you at the same time, because, you could be building something, but if you're alone, you're going to lose. And so when you have this idea and you bring everyone at the same time with you, you go forward and you go faster and you go further. And that's always been what I've done, whether I was right or wrong, I brought everyone with me.
I feel like let's do it together, to your point. And that's the other thing, Shelley, like I always subscribe to Madeleine Albright's, of course, the special place in hell for women that don't support other women. But honestly, along the journey, there were women who were not like that. And so for me, I feel like it's all genders, it's about doing it together. Like I think my business partner's, hugely feminist, and it's about bringing everyone along.
Well, that's why, we don't call them male allies. We call them leadership allies, or why I say it's conscious leaders. It's not about gender. It's about doing it together. And for Madeleine Albright's quote, we twisted it a little bit and just said that women that support other women deserve a place in heaven. Instead of talking about the negative, we always go to the positive.
I love positivity. Me too. That's
Well, it's elevation. It's what you're all about.
Yeah.
It's elevating.
Yeah.
And
I love
going to the next level, because, I never want to reinforce what's bad. I love to talk about what's good. And
me too.
And it's all of us supporting one another, and that's how we go to the next level. And it just feels so good. And it's why I started with the girls' lounge, just to be, the opposite of boy is girl, the opposite of club is lounge. If there's a boys' club now, there's a girls' lounge, because I never had girlfriends in business. In my age, we all stuck our heels in each other's heads and pushed each other down because there was such a scarcity of jobs at the top. And I just want to give back with generosity what I wish I had my entire career, which was girlfriends in business. I mean, that's joy, to whether it's competitive categories or not, to have girlfriends supporting each other and to get advice from women who have been there, done that, bits and bytes of advice is the best thing you could ever ask for. I mean, look at how we found each other.
Yeah, I love it. And the first big event that I went to with a lot of women was when I was at the stock exchange for the investor panel. And I almost didn't attend, and I'm sure there's other women out there too who are like hiding for various reasons. For me, it was like I just stood out too much, and it was like 3 kids, this job, it's like it just became harder to be in that role. So I adopted the hiding pattern. But I really felt like I found my people, like my soul sisters at the stock exchange. I still think, by the way, I said, to be continued, but I said on the stock exchange floor that I give us an F when it comes to women's health. The moderator asked and everyone laughed. But it's like, one thing that I know about you too is like keeping it real and also leveling up, because women deserve better. And I always say that women's health is everyone's health. Everyone has, a mom, everyone has, someone in their life who is female. But I just am so grateful. This is like the best birthday present ever to interview you. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I appreciate you. I hope to spend more time with you, and, just thank you for doing what you do, so that when people like me wake up, for whatever the reason is, we can find you and know that like we're not alone. And it's so, so special and appreciated.
And I just want to say thank you, because I feel so much better for having you in my life. And so you are a special gift to me. So thank you so much for having me today, but every day in your life.
Thank you for tuning in. Please connect with me, Sharon Kedar, on LinkedIn for additional innovative content. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking the button below this video. The views and opinions of the host and podcast guests are their own professional opinions and may not represent the views of North Pond Ventures.